All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. We are recording this webinar for anyone who would like to watch it at another time. I would love to kick us off with some introductions. I'll start with a little bit about the Center for Women in Enterprise and then spend most of the time introducing our panelists and would love to hear from Virginia and Maria a little bit about what brings you here, your business, and then we'll get into the meat of the session. And Sika, you mentioned some blog posts that you had written. I love it. If you want to drop those in the chat, they should also show up in the recording so that we can make sure that people will get access to your blog posts as well. I've read a few of your blog posts before. I really enjoy them. So selfishly, I'm looking forward to that as well. Okay, so on behalf of the Center for Women in Enterprise, or CWE, welcome. We are so glad to be here with you. CWE has a couple of major components of what we do towards our mission to help women start and grow businesses. One is an education component. We operate women's business centers throughout most of New England, and their mission is to provide education and coaching support to you as you are looking to start or grow your business. The other aspect of what we do is we operate the New England affiliate of WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, which you're going to learn more about from my colleague, Megan. And among us, we try to work with all of the amazing folks here on the call today to let folks know what's out there, what's an option, and help you make the right decisions for your business, in this case, specifically as it pertains to certification. So why don't I, with that, Megan, can I kick it over to you to talk a little bit about WeBank? Then we'll kind of I'll call folks in order of the squares that I see you.
Yes, hi, I'm Megan Cunningham. I am the certification manager as part of our supplier diversity team at the Center for Women in Enterprise. I've been with CWE for 3 years, processing WeBank applications as part of that. WeBank, as Michelle said, the Women Business Enterprise National Council. It's the largest third-party certifier of women businesses owned by women. My goodness, my brain is just not catching up with me today. Businesses owned, operated, controlled, and managed by women. It's a little mouthful, but it's a really great organization. CWE is one of 14 regional partner organizations across the country, since it is a national certification. And yes, so we process all the applications that come for any businesses in the northern half of Connecticut up to Maine. Yeah, I will kick it back to Michelle.
Thanks so much, Megan. All right, I'm just going to go in the order that I see the squares. So that brings us to Sika, then Sandra, then Delia. Oh, but you're on mute though, Sika.
So my name is Sika Cedro. I am an IT consultant, and presently I contract both with the state and with municipalities, and my company is about to launch its own app. I am a certified business, and I'm really happy here to be here and to talk about my experience and what I've learned.
So much, Sika. Can't wait to hear more about that. All right, Sandra.
So I'm Sandra Ledbetter, and I actually have been with it used to be called the PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And about a year ago, the Department of Defense decided to rebrand us into Apex Accelerators. So we are part of the Mass Small Business Development Network. Boy, I'm having the same problem. And I don't have an 8-month-old, so I don't know what it is. But we assist. There is, first of all, a Apex Accelerator in every state. You would always work with the state where your business is headquartered. So, to provide services to you, you'd have to be a small business headquartered in Massachusetts, not a sales, affiliated with, a salesperson here or something. We do like to see part of the vendor readiness that we're going to talk about is that you should have previous sales, have been in business maybe 1 to 2 years. And our services are free because your tax dollars are already paying for them. So technically they're not free, but we want to make sure that, the folks that do use the program are ready to be in that program. And as Michelle said, we scratch our head a lot about how do we help people understand that it is important to be ready for this business or this market before you dive into it, because you may only have one chance, and you don't want to blow it. So we really want to make sure that we are helping people get procurement ready and determine whether this is a good market for your business. So that's what I'm here for too. And we love partnering with Center for Women's Enterprise.
Thanks so much. Let me kick it over to Delana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Delana Irvin Parker. I am the Director of Budget and Supply Diversity at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. And I'm happy to be here today to share with you information about our supplier diversity program, as well as I said earlier, to learn about what your businesses are and just learn from you. So I'm excited about this opportunity to participate on this panel with you.
Thank you so much. And I'm dropping a document in the chat that hopefully will come through for the recording as well, but I'm also going to put it in eCenter where you registered for today's workshop. It's just a little glossary. It is hyperlinked, and so it'll bring you to the different stages that show you kind of some of the acronyms that we're using, and it's hyperlinked. For example, Sandra mentioned Apex Accelerators. If you happen to not be in Massachusetts, the hyperlink there should take you to Apex's general website so you can find the one in the state that you are in and request services and get working. So thanks so much. Would love to hear, Maria and Virginia, if you're game to talk to us a little bit about your business, then we'll go into our session for today.
So I just wanted to say that I am very excited to be able to reach out to you guys. I think it's amazing the fact that there's like a organization that offers services for women. I've been in business for a little while, and it's hard when you feel like everybody closed the door on your face because you are a minority. I don't know, for some reason people think that you can't handle a business because you're a woman, because you're supposed to be at home taking care of your kids and your husband and gardening and all that stuff. So it's empowering the fact that we can do things, and there are organizations like you guys that can offer information and educate us to do things that everybody can do. Just a little bit about my business. I do own a dental laboratory. I fabricate removables, and I also offer the service of fixed restorations, which are like crowns, implants, and everything that it comes along. And I am basically trying to explore. That's the main reason why I am in this meeting, because I want to explore my options, see what I can learn from you guys. I am in the path of growing the business. For the past 3 years, I put the numbers together, and it looks by the numbers, by the dollar sign, I guess I can tell that it's growing, the amount of dentists that I'm getting, and I am ready to move the lab to my own real estate. So I'm working on buying a building for the lab, and then and along with that, just grow the business, be able to hire more people, and offer opportunity. It's not only being selfish and I want to just make more money. It's grow the business and be able to give the opportunity to somebody else to have a job.
Congratulations. That is amazing. I can't wait to learn more about that. That is wonderful. All right, Virginia.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for your patience. I had to jump off for a few seconds there. My phone was ringing. My name's Virginia Doro. I am a psych nurse practitioner. I have been working for too long, employed by other people for too long, I feel. And essentially, I was very fortunate enough to get mentors who helped me idealize and conceptualize the process of opening a private practice while I was being employed. And I feel like this is the season in my life to be ready to expand my services, offer them in the capacity of what I do. I'm excited. I wouldn't know which way my growth is looking at. I'm not as specific as Maria and her quest to get a real estate new office, because everything that we do right now is practically virtual, no lie, right?
Yep.
So it looks different for me, but I do realize that there are opportunities for women. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's do this. I'm excited about this, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that you offer this training. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Welcome. So glad to have you all here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick us off with a few questions, and I'm going to be dropping links in the chat as folks are talking. So I apologize. Just let me know if it's distracting, but all of the links that I drop in the chat are for future reference. You can download the chat box at the end of this, and hopefully the recording, you can see it too. But just want to make sure you've got some follow-up resources there. And as Sandra did, I welcome, to the extent everyone else is comfortable, to drop in your information. If you're game for folks to follow you, follow up. I see the link to Sika's blog. Love that. Okay, so let me go ahead and kick us off with our first question, which is around vendor readiness. This is a big question that folks have. They'll go after certification, but of course, a key benefit of getting certified is being able to work as a vendor with entities like Blue Cross Blue Shield, for example. So would love to hear from each of you, Sika, Sandra, Delina, and Megan, sorry, what vendor readiness looks like to you.
I can start.
Sorry, Sika, I saw you starting to go, but we didn't hear you. So go for it, Delina.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to go, Sika?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So let me just give you some background about our supply diversity program, and then I'll talk about some of the things we look for in as part of our supply diversity program. So Blue Cross Blue Shield has had a supply diversity program for a little over 20 years now. And the goal of our program is to procure services and products from businesses like yours. We target minority-owned, women-owned, LGBTQ-owned, veteran-owned, and disability-owned businesses as part of our supply diversity program. We have the primary goal is to create contracting opportunities, but we also have two other pillars as part of our program: supplier development programming, and also what we call our engagement pillar, and that's kind of participating in events like this to try to get our story out there and try to meet businesses like your own. So, and through the supplier development pillar that I just mentioned, we partner with organizations like Center for Women in Enterprise to offer mentorship to women-owned businesses. So that's kind of at a high level what our program looks like. What do we look for? So going back to what Michelle said, the certification is key. We required a certification as part of our program, and we're not unique in that area. So I'll just say that a lot of different corporate organizations and different even nonprofits, they look for the certification. So I would strongly encourage you to just strongly think about that, becoming certified, because that's one of the first things we look for. We also look for your capabilities. Can you provide the product or service that we're looking for? In some cases, we partner with Weebies, who may be smaller, but then they will partner with another business to be able to provide the products and services. So we look at that as well. And quite honestly, relationship building is key. The opportunities, it may not necessarily be readily there in terms of a contract. And so My role at Blue Cross is to, establish the relationships with businesses like your own so that, when the opportunity does become available, we've already kind of established that you are capable, you have the capabilities, and, I'm familiar with your business. So I know I said a mouthful, so I'll just pause there and see if anyone has any questions. Oh, Michelle, are we entertaining questions throughout the conversation? Or wait
It's
into
down
the
to
end?
you all. Maria and Virginia, if there's any question that you do not want, we're going to make this recording available to the general public. So if there's any question or information that you don't want, either tell me or we can hold the questions till the end. But otherwise, I'm happy with however y'all want to go.
Okay, so I'll kick it over to Sandra.
Sorry, thank you. That didn't want to work there. Good information. So I'm going to be talking about what vendor readiness looks like from a government's contracting standpoint. The corporate world that has supplier diversity programs and goals, almost all will require you to be certified. The prime contractors that are corporations that do government work that have procurement goals that are mandated by the federal government will also want you to be certified in most cases. They will look for some type of certification. It's not mandatory, but I will tell you, having been a supplier, a diversity officer for a large defense prime contractor, it protects us. So that way we know you are what you say you are if we're audited. So you're always going to be better off to have some type of certification that says you are a woman-owned business, you're a minority-owned business, you're a veteran-owned business. The federal government has small business set-aside programs that will require you to have the federal certifications. Now, there's a lot of, we need to find somebody who can do a roadmap because, there's the free certifications from the federal government, but CWE is a third-party vendor to the federal government to help with some of the woman-owned small business certifications. So you can get 2 for 1 with some of these. So that's something that when you sign up for an Apex Accelerator consultation, we'll walk you through what really is best for your business. As far as vendor readiness, what we're seeing right now, which is very disconcerting, and I've been in this field for almost way too long. We won't go there with the numbers, but let's just say I've seen a lot of changes. And what is really disconcerting right now is we are seeing a high level of companies that are not ready that are signing up. And my fear is when you're in the 1 to 2 year range, and the statistics will back me up, you really have a lot going on to keep your business focused, bring in income and all those things. You can go down a lot of different rabbit holes when you start looking at government contracting because there's so many registrations and certifications, and that distracts some people from doing what they need to do, which is make sure that they're, paying their bills and bringing in money and doing the marketing and all those things that, one person, 5 people in your business, that's a lot to do. You wear so many different hats. You get to be the janitor, you get to be the postal person, you get the sales marketing. So one of the things that we're finding is we are actually trying to encourage people to go back to the Center for Women's Enterprise or the Small Business Development Center or the SCORE and get a little bit more marketing assistance and have your feet more firmly planted, because we want you to be successful. We don't want you to be scared of what you're getting into, but we also know that it's like learning a foreign language. So we want to make sure that we prepare you for what is going to happen next. And the other thing that we are seeing is a lot of people are starting business to sell only to the government. That's not sustainable. And when I tell people that, they don't like that, but my feeling is I need to save you money and I want to make sure your business is solid. So I'm going to be honest with you. When you come see me, you're going to get the honest, this is what we need to do. And sometimes we just need baby steps. I'll tell people, did you look at selling to, the city of Framingham? Why are we going to DOD first? Department of Defense is like miserable sometimes to have to deal with because they have so many things that they want you to do. Let's start small and grow. So that's what that's what the Apex accelerators across the country are trying to do, is help you really visualize where you fit and how do we get you A, B, C, D, because I really don't think we want to go A to Z. In most cases. Thank you. I know that's a mouthful and we could talk all day on this, but I think, who's next? Sika?
Sure. Sandra, I think you said it like you captured a lot of what I was going to say perfectly. So when it comes to vendor readiness, for me, this harks back to what Delana said. Having that capability statement is really important. That's the main marketing tool you're going to have if you're in public or private sector. Contracting, you're dealing with a procurement officer. They want to see that you have prior experience and deep enough expertise to actually handle whatever project that they have. So my capabilities was the first. The second was having a ticketing system for actually dealing with complaints. So I'm a tech company and I needed to demonstrate to people that, hey, I have a systematized way of dealing with any issues that come up, even though I might be small. The third was having a dedicated person that could actually look for opportunities for me and do the due diligence that was needed. As both of these supplier diversity officers have told you, you have to develop the relationship. So that means you have to understand, the history of whatever organization you're coming into. If you're looking at a specific opportunity, understand the history of that project. And that takes a lot of manpower. And so for me, I had to actually have a dedicated person that was doing that so that I could work on the business and not in the business. The third was, and this is really important, you have to have a really intimate relationship with a banker, someone that you can text and within 10 minutes, they will get back to you because you have to be able to scale quickly if you get that contract. And so you have to be able to prove that, yes, if you are small, if you're a 5-person operation, you have to be able to prove and say to that contract, that procurement officer or that program officer, hey, I know you're taking a risk on me, but here are the things that I have in place. Here are the systems that I have in place. That's been how I've been able to win stuff because I'm really not necessarily as big as some of the folks that are winning contracts. The third was have a lawyer that you really trust that can look at what are called teaming agreements. So a teaming agreement is basically a really loose agreement that you have in place with maybe another company and you're going after a specific opportunity. That's different from a joint venture. So, but you should have a lawyer that can help you navigate through the legalese, that understands how these partnerships should be structured, what you should be talking about if you're going to go after an opportunity with another company. The next thing was having my accountant really get my book straight. So making sure I was good with the state, making sure I was good with the feds, making sure I was up and up. So if I had to go through a stress test or an audit, I would be okay. So those are the things that I think from just a vantage point of just your operations of your business, you have to have in place. It's an absolute necessity to be able to even convince someone that you are ready to take on a contract, whether it's in the public or private sector.
Can I just add something to what Sika said? there were 2 points that she made. The first, have a lawyer. I will say to you that a lot of our contracts at Blue Cross Blue Shield, most of our contracts are on our paper, meaning they're using our contract template. And so there is a lot of language in there, a lot of legal language in there. And so, I would impress upon you to have a lawyer review any contract that you sent, that you intend on signing, because we have a lot of requirements. We have insurance requirements, we have IT requirements. We're in the health insurance business, and so we're trying to safeguard a lot of our data. And there's a lot of language in our contracts kind of stipulating what those requirements look like. And so I would just caution you to, get a lawyer. Also, there was a second point about, having a dedicated person. I would expand that and say, have a dedicated person that has an area of expertise that you may not have in. And I'll give you that you may not have. I'll give you an example. So, during the RFP process, we will meet with our vendors, and sometimes they'll come in and pitch their business, right? But they're not necessarily salespeople or marketing people. And so they'll come in and they know what their business is, but they can't necessarily say how it relates to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so sometimes you need to bring somebody in, a marketing person or a salesperson, that can say, well, this is what we can do for you. This is how we can do it. This is who we've done it with before, and this is what we were able to be successful with, in the past and do. So, just kind of know what your strengths are, but come to the table with a team if you have to sell that your business, because you only get one impression, and people have long memories. I will say people have very long memories. And so if you get to the table and you get that opportunity, be ready for it, because, it may not happen again. Those are just 2 things I wanted to expound upon.
Yeah, and I'll bring it back even further. To get to that table, you need to be certified. And in order to be certified, as through WeBank in particular, a lawyer and an accountant are such an integral part of that process. For the WeBank certification, we look at all of your legal operating agreements, bylaws, stock certificates. You need to have all of that information in order and ready to go. And we look through it very thoroughly to make sure that you're meeting all of those requirements. Same thing with your financials. We need 3 years of tax returns for your business, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, W-2, payroll, all of this stuff. It's a lot of documentation, and it's a good test for you as you start to become vendor ready to be able to put all of this together and go through the process. There's a site visit as well where we meet with you one-on-one to talk more about your business. And it all kind of goes hand in hand, that when you clear, the first hurdle of, getting certified, whether it's through WeBank or Greater New England Minority Supplier Diversity Council, I can never say that acronym, kicks me every time. Whatever certification you're choosing, it's an excellent test and first hurdle to get through to then be able to move forward with getting vendor ready. So I just wanted to add that too.
Let me drop the link for the GNMESDC, the Greater New England Minority Supplier Diversity Council, here. And so you'll see, just as a reminder, folks who are watching, there is a downloadable glossary, and you can see why that is so important, that we are dropping here. I've also put in a link to the Greater New England Minority Supplier Diversity Council and an upcoming training that we offer, that Megan offers, about the world of supplier diversity. So if you're sitting here listening to this thinking, wait, what are all these certifications and which one's right for me? Take that webinar. And I also put a link to that chapter. So, okay, next one up, you each touched on this a little bit during your introduction, but I'd love to dive a little deeper with Sandra and Megan as far as how your respective, how WeBank and how Apex can support businesses that are seeking certification. When should folks come to you? What are the kinds of questions that they can get answered by you as they're considering certification?
I'd be happy to start with that one. So usually what we do when somebody signs up for a consultation, we like to take them through, we kind of do a market survey just to see where their product or service would fit. And then we kind of look at what certifications would make sense. Sometimes we find that somebody's only really interested in doing state work. So might be they should be looking at the supplier diversity certifications through, the combis or the state system, and maybe they'll stop there. If they're primarily going to be looking at doing corporate work as a subcontractor, whether it's to a government large business or a Blue Cross Blue Shield, then we would look more closely at what makes sense for the type of certification they should be looking at. So we try and, again, I try and do baby steps with, I don't want to overwhelm people. And we're here for you as long as you want to use our services, but we do try and segment what makes sense, where to start, and developing that capability statement, which a lot of corporations want to see now. I think Delana referred to that too. It used to be you only did it if you were looking at doing federal work, and now everybody kind of likes to see that one-page capability statement. A lot cheaper than doing marketing brochures that you may still need, but not for everything that you're doing at the level that we're talking about with just doing some outreach. But one of the key things that Delana also said is sometimes the owner of a business is not the salesperson. They really know their business, but boy, they're really having a hard time putting that into that 30-second elevator pitch, or they really don't know. When I was the small business liaison officer, I would have people say, well, I found your name in the directory and I'm reaching out to you. And I go, so what do you do? And they tell me, and I go, well, how does that fit with what we do? And they didn't know. They just thought they should reach out because, there was a potential contract opportunity, but it wasn't, because they really didn't come at it with, this is what we can do. In Sika's case, you could come in and say, I can, blow up all your IT stuff and I'm going to make it much better because you've got, Band-Aids all over your system. That's what I needed to hear. And oftentimes it was, I'm a small business, I'm certified, I was told to call you. So those are some things that, again, we can help you with that. How do you market to the folks that you're looking to do business with? Because believe it or not, there's probably 10 of you for every, they get the calls from 10 IT companies. What makes you special? What makes you the one that they should be, considering as a new vendor? So those are all those $1 million questions that we, are here to try and help you address so that you don't, that first opportunity is a good opportunity when you do your market outreach.
Yeah, and I would say for our department and Biodiversity WeBank at CWE, we take a similar approach with that webinar that Michelle mentioned. We don't have the capability to meet with everybody one-on-one, but we try and get as many people as possible into that webinar. And one of the things that we really talk about is what certification is going to be right for you. Who are you looking to do business with, and what certifications are they looking for? So we try and make sure that you've done your research beforehand, especially with the WeBank certification, because it's not a free certification. It's an annual renewal fee that's non-refundable if you don't get certified. And we're small businesses, every penny counts, and we don't want anybody to sign up for the certification if it's not going to be right for you. So we really encourage, and we'll help point you in the best directions that we can, but we really try to encourage you to do your legwork first to make the decision on which one is going to be right for your business.
Thanks so much, both of you. Can I turn the mic over to you, Delana? I'd love to hear a little bit about you. Again, you started to mention this earlier, but what does it look like for someone to do business with Blue Cross Blue Shield? What are the types of businesses? I'm thinking, for example, Maria's question from earlier. Is this even right for me? What are the kinds of businesses that you'd be looking for? What does a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield look like?
Sure. So we contract with businesses that across the board that keep the lights on at Blue Cross Blue Shield. We contract with vendors that support HR, training and development, as well as we have a lot of IT vendors to support our infrastructure. We process claims, so we have a lot of IT infrastructure. So a lot of our vendors, our diverse vendors, are actually in the IT space, but we also use them for facilities related work, right? Helping to keep, we own actually we have three office locations, one in Boston at the Prudential Center, so we lease that space. But we also have offices in Quincy and in Hingham, and we own those buildings, and those buildings need to be maintained. And so we use vendors to help maintain those buildings. We also have vendors that we use for just general consulting services, and that can be marketing related. It can be accounting related. So we use vendors across all kind of categories, procurement categories, if you will. So that kind of gives you some idea. In terms of the contract, as I spoke about this earlier, generally our contracts are on our paper, and in doing so, our contract is really to protect Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so I'll just reiterate, get a lawyer, get a lawyer. Um, it is very important. We do have insurance requirements, right, to kind of help mitigate any risk associated with the relationship with the vendors. We have IT requirements. Like I said, you hear about it in the news every day about data breaches. And so we have a lot of safeguards in place to try to not fall victim to that. And so there's a lot of language in our contract about what you need to have on your side, even whether or not you're dealing with data or not. Just by contracting with us, you still have to meet that requirement. Our contract is very extensive. I will say that. And the vetting process is, let's see, it can take anywhere between, I'd say, 8 weeks to get through the contracting process or more, depending on what type of services you are providing. Um, we have our RFP process tends to take shorter, so we'll put something out to bid, and we'll have vendors bid and come in and pitch their business. That process can take anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how many participants we have in the process. Um, what else can I tell you about our contracts? I think that's pretty much, a good kind of high level. But I'm happy to talk to you in more detail offline if you want to, if you have any specific questions related to our contracts. What I will say is that we are not unique. You'll hear me say that throughout this process, because I speak representing Blue Cross Blue Shield, but our process is not um, too different from other companies. And so what I'm saying to you can be applied to other companies as well. And so just keep that in mind, that other companies will have very similar processes. Okay.
So it sounds like, to just kind of contextualize what you're saying, if say Sika or Maria or Virginia or anybody wanted to do business with Blue Cross, they would first need to be certified, as we said, and I imagine specifically WeBank certified, since we're talking private sector contracts.
Yes. So
You'll learn more about that. Oh, sorry.
let me clarify, right? So
Please.
yes, you do need to be certified to be counted in our supply diversity program. You don't necessarily need to be certified to do business at Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, important point.
So just keep that in mind. I will say the certification does create an avenue for you to get to the table, right? To get to the table, because there's so many vendors vying for these opportunities. So, just keep that in mind. It's probably going to be a little harder for you to get a seat at the table if you do not have the certification, but you can certainly do business with Blue Cross Blue Shield without a certification.
Thank you so much for that clarifier. That's an important point. That certification is a leg up, and there are different ways to do it, but it's not a guarantee of business, nor the other way around is it required to do any business. So thank you for clarifying that. So folks then that are looking to do business with Blue Cross Blue Shield, how are they going to find the opportunities to know, like, say, what an RFP is, or do they call you, or how does that part work?
Yes, all roads lead back to Delana.
Hey, I like it.
So yes, I am your point person. You can reach out to me directly to find out what the opportunities are. We don't necessarily publicize our opportunities because I'll be honest, sometimes they come up. And we don't necessarily know when they may come up, because the business needs change. So at any given point, I always encourage vendors to reach out to me periodically. I'll put my name in the chat, my email in the chat, to just inquire. And again, it goes back to what I said about relationship building too. Keeping in touch with me to kind of cultivate that relationship so that when an opportunity does come up, you're in the forefront, and going back to what Sandra said, for every opportunity, I'm hearing from like 25 to 50 different vendors, right? And so to the extent that we can cultivate a relationship, at the very least, I'll know who you are when you're calling, because to Sandra's point, they cold call and you're like, okay, what can you do for me? And they don't know. They just know there's an opportunity, right? And so for me, I'm trying to feel through all of that, and that's not necessarily, it's one of me, but like 50 of you, meaning the vendors. So, to the extent we can cultivate that relationship beforehand, it's great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sika, I'd love to turn the mic over to you. You have been there and done that. You are one of these vendors that we keep talking about here. I'd love to hear about your certification journey. You've made decisions to pursue certification, period, but also which types that you wanted to pursue and all that kind of thing. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit about your journey and how you've leveraged it.
So I am certified both by the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council, so the GNM.
Right? GNEMSDC,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
I'm looking at it.
So I have that certification, and I'm certified as a minority-owned business. One thing that I would say is that, like WeBank, they are very much focused on private sector contracts. And as a certified business, I think one thing I would say is that you get the most out of that specific certification if you're at least at $500,000 in revenue. So it doesn't mean that you won't get anything out of the certification, but the most value lies in a specific revenue point, which is $500,000. So now I'm also certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Supplier Diversity Office, and the City of Boston. And so both of those opportunities have led to contracts for me. And when it comes to the supplier diversity office, there have been different ways I've leveraged that specific certification, but I'm going to talk about like the benefits they offer first, and then basically backtrack and say this. I'm going to contextualize the benefits. So you do not have to be a certified business to get access to the actual information that I'm talking about and that I've leveraged. So there are trainings that are offered through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Operational Services Division, and they're really good at giving you like a breakdown of the different ways that you can engage with the state as a vendor. I highly recommend that you take time to understand both the contracting portal. It's an investment of time and resources, but whatever you choose, you have to understand the tool that they market on and how to leverage it. So take those trainings if you decide to go there. I also went an extra step and got some one-on-one coaching from the Supplier Diversity Office itself. So they certify you, but they also have a team that's focused on actually helping you with leverage that certification. And so I got several one-on-one coaching sessions to really help me solidify a strategy that could go within my actual business strategy. And so you want to always look, like everyone has said, always look for creating that relationship that will help you understand, okay, what are the opportunities that are coming up? Is there a procurement schedule? How do I leverage this? And how do I bake this into my business strategy? So the other certification that I got through the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council, the benefits that I got there was I got a lot of really subject area coaching. So specific functional areas like that, that issue that I was talking about, like being able to access banking, being able to actually scale quick. They were able to give me that type of coaching and help. I got technical assistance in specific aspects of my business, specifically with marketing and sales. And then the other benefits were just virtual networking events. There are lots of in-person events where you can go and interact with big suppliers. And then they also have leadership programs that are really geared toward helping you understand how you need to present as a business owner or CEO to be able to get to level up in terms of the contracts that you do get. So I want to just kind of wrap things up and say that like there is the time investment of the actual certification, but you also need to make the time investment of baking whatever certification you go after and whatever vendor that you're targeting, baking into your actual business strategy how you're going to leverage that. That was something that I think I learned in hindsight that I think is really important to mention to business owners that are actually pursuing it, because remember, you have so many other things to actually think about. Your roadmap should include this certification, how you're leveraging it on a quarterly, annual, semi-annual basis.
Love that. What do you wish you would have known earlier when, say, you were at Maria Stage of Virginia's?
I wish I had met Sandra.
Yep.
I wish I had met
Great human. Yes.
But I also, what I wish I had known was that that issue of the sales. So understanding that when you're talking to a procurement officer, it's really important to have done your due diligence, and you have to frame it in terms of what is the benefit. So I was thinking, government procurement is just like, it's different, but it's just like any other sale. You have to be able to sell to the person at the end. They have to be able to come away from whatever that interaction or those series of interactions with the confidence that you can deliver on the contract. You have the infrastructure and you are able to come in and deliver, because remember, they have so many people they have to answer to. if they're taking a risk, if they think you're a little, you don't fit the cookie cutter, you have to demonstrate to them that you can deliver. And that was something that, like, I was just like, oh yeah, everything butterflies. And it's like, no, now. And so I'm saying that to you, like, be ready for that and have that as part of what you're doing, the business strategy, and then also the sales and marketing. Marketing, I think you can get away with just a capability statement, but you have to know sales as a business owner and treat any kind of, whether it's public or private sector, you have to treat it as a sale.
Love that. Thank you so much. So I've got one last question kind of to the group, and then what I'll probably do is stop recording, then any individual questions, Maria, Virginia, that you all want to ask. See, it's the weather. We're going to blame the weather. You're more than welcome to do so without, worrying about what's going to be recorded or broadcast out or anything like that. And my last question is about successes. So, Sika, you mentioned you've gotten a few contracts. Would love to hear what those were, how that was for you. Megan, Sandra, and Delana, I would love to hear from you all about successful folks that you have seen go through this process. It can be pretty intimidating, right? But people do it. And so it'd be great to hear about some of the successes that you all have seen, or as in your case, you could experience firsthand.
So I can talk. So there are two ways that I have been successful. So getting certified by the city of Boston opened up a lot of contracts. So the first, I got in, and Sandra, you mentioned this, start with it at the municipal level. Sometimes that's the way to go. So that's how I got in through the door. I went to the business unit with the lowest barrier to entry, got in good with that procurement officer, and was able to build relationship with other business units within the city of Boston. From there, I was able to go through different leadership programs. I went through a few leadership programs at Babson College, got connected through my PTAC person, and then was able to start to leverage some state level resources. So I had been certified by the state, but didn't understand how to leverage that for about a year. When I got that coaching through the connection at Babson College, what that did for me was I was able to figure out, okay, how am I baking this into my business strategy now? And so that helped me start to, I'm gearing up to get on a statewide contract. And it also helped me to leverage what's called auxiliary services. So if you are contracting with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, there are 3 ways that you can actually get business. You can get business if you are certified, and let me qualify it. If you are certified, you can get business 3 different ways. You can get it through the actually responding to a bid. So that's the first way. The second way is to get on what's called a statewide contract, which is just a blanket contract. It doesn't guarantee spend, but what it does is it puts you at the front of the list when they need those services. And then the third way is when you're certified as a small business, you can provide what are called auxiliary services to other businesses who are not certified. And so they get a credit if they have an actual contract. They get a credit for working with you, even though you don't have a direct contract with the state. So that's the other way that so once I understood that, I was like, oh, this totally changes my business strategy. And that was how I was able to leverage certification. But as everyone has said before, the certification itself does not, it opens up doors, but it does not guarantee business. You have to figure out, how am I going to bake this into my strategy itself? And I would say the other thing with the small, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that you should know is, if you're a small business, you can apply for what's called the Small Business Purchasing Program. It's not necessarily a certification, but it does put you in a category for specific types of contracts that only you can compete for. They're under $250,000, but what they do is it makes the pool a lot smaller for certain types of bidding opportunities. And sometimes you're only bidding against like 2 or 3 other companies. And if you have past experience, it makes it really easy to win. So those are all ways that I've leveraged certification. The certification, I think, was just getting me prepared for having and getting comfortable with talking to procurement officers to understand the language that they speak and then move through the process in the pipeline. But it's up to you as a business owner to actually cultivate those relationships. If you're going after a project, understand the history, because you might be able to deliver, but you might not have the capacity to deal with the politics of the actual project. And so you should know all that stuff before you get into it, because, you know, there's lots of things around payments that I learned later, and having access to credit. You might be able to deliver on the project, but what's the history of this project? Are you going to be able to deliver right away, or is it going to take you a while to execute? Understand that before you actually put your sign on the dotted line, because it's really important.
Thank you so much. That is absolutely, yeah. Sandra, Megan, Delana, what about you all? What successes have you seen, lessons learned that you want to make sure you communicate those types of things?
I mean, I think Delana said it earlier and said it best, just being there and cultivating the relationships. The women who I've seen that have the most success with utilizing their WeBank certification are the women who are at every single event, and they are there and talking to people and networking and really putting the time in. And because then they're the ones, as Delana said, that pop into your brain when something comes up. They're the people that come forefront. And you know, it's been touched on already, but the time that it takes it's no small amount, but it's worth it in the long run if you can really put it in there. And I mean, Sika listed all of the things that, you know, she has gone to, and that's what you have to do. I mean, it's so impressive listening to your story, and that's what you have to do in order to make it happen. So yeah.
I would agree with that. I think, can't say it enough. The relationship piece, the relationship building piece. I will add to that in saying that, when, we're cultivating a relationship, people tend to think, vendors tend to think, oh, the relationship is just with Delana, at Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's not. It's also towards my network, right? Because I'm just one company, I'm part of one company, but I have peers in this space at other companies across Massachusetts and even across the country, right? And so usually when I hear of opportunities, they may reach out to me and say, Delana, do you know a woman-owned business that can provide this service? And I'll say, yes, I do. I know Maria, and I know Virginia, and I know Sika, and and I'm happy to make that connection. And so for us, that's what success looks like as well. In addition to the contract at Blue Cross, but success also looks like creating those opportunities at other companies, right? Because when you cultivate a relationship with me, you get access to that network as well. And you may not necessarily have another opportunity to connect with my peer at another company, and so so I will just say that relationship building piece, that's the key to success across the board.
I totally agree. And Sika, you are just amazing. I could listen to your story all day of what you've done to make it happen. But I think one of the key things that I'm hearing is, it does take time. It takes work. It's like getting another degree or something, you're going to be putting effort into this, but it can pay off. And what Delana said about people talking, with the DoD Northeast Regional Council is all of the federal agency, small business professionals, and all of the large corporations that are government contractors. They meet sometime. Lately, it's been mostly virtually, but we're getting back into, on-site things. And they do talk. Somebody will say, geez, I have a construction project. Can anybody recommend a small business that, you know, that they've had a good experience with? Well, guess what? You want to be that small business. You know, I have an IT need. They're going to say, Sika, oh my gosh, you know, she walks on water. You don't want to be the one that they say, oh, she wasn't prepared and they failed and we had to, you know, terminate the contract. Because let me tell you, that'll last the next 10 years. As Delana says, they have long memories. So we want you to be one of those that everybody at some of these events and meetings, they talk about this person was successful. They're the one we want, you know, you should consider them. Now, again, obviously with state and federal, they have to put things out for bid. And you still have to be the best qualified, you know, the person that it's not always the low bidder, even though, you know, maybe for trinkets and you know, widgets it is, but for other services, it is the best qualified person. So you still have that opportunity. But if it's something where you're going to give past experience, and they do their reference checks and they look in the government database to see that you performed, that, you know, that again is going to be something that helps you move into that category of you are a preferred vendor, so to speak. So, you know, excellent stuff. I've learned so much today too. This is great.
I love this group. Yes, you all are amazing. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. We've still got a little bit of time, so please do hang out. We can answer any questions until folks are sated. But thanks so much to our panelists for joining. Thank you, Virginia, Maria. Thanks to everyone watching. There's a whole bunch of opportunity for you in your business out there in the world of supplier diversity. So I hope that you'll hang on to this recording, that you'll reach out to the folks here on the call and grow your business. And together we're going to grow the whole economy. So thanks so much, everybody, and have a good one.